Hey guys, thank you so much for hopping on today. My name is Samantha Sufyan, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how you can actually train however you want and get the results that you're looking for. So I get this question a lot in my industry, Sam, are there certain types of exercises that I should be doing, or does this exercise work better than this, or I read this on a blog and what should I do? There's so much different information out there. So I'm going to break it down really simple so you guys understand this. Now, I'm sure you've come across all of these different types of training methods. You have CrossFit and boot camp type classes. You'll have kettlebell and technique type of training, like movement pattern training like that. You'll have bodybuilding, power and Olympic type of training, and then you'll have cardio. So, there's tons of different types of training methods that you could put into your program for yourself. Now, it's all about what you like and what you find enjoyable. A big rule of thumb is that you are working out your muscle group at least 3 times a week. So, think of your big muscle groups: your chest, your glutes, your legs, your core, your back. Those are large muscle groups, and you want to be working those out 3 times a week each. That's going to maximize your likelihood of building the muscle and burning the fat. Again, this is just for general population. Of course, if you have a specific type of physique you're looking for or a certain type of look you're going for, of course I'm going to recommend something different, depending on what your case may be. But this is just for general population looking to lose fat or lose weight and build muscle or maintain muscle. So that is going to be your basic rule of thumb. Now let's dive a little deeper into that, because it's not just about working all of your body parts at least 3 times a week. So you have all of these different types of training as I went over, and all of them you can make work for you. And the only one that tends to yield the least results is going to be cardio. And the reason being is that cardio is really not building any muscle. And depending on the zones that you're working in, we all have different heart rate zones, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Depending on the zones that you're working in, you are very likely to actually be burning muscle and burning into your carb storages as opposed to burning into fat storages. So we'll go into that a little bit more. Whereas the other types of methods of training, you're building muscle in one way or another. Now, what a lot of people really don't talk about in the industry is recovery. Recovery is a very unsexy topic, but it is by far the most critical part of your training. And now, recovery doesn't actually need to mean getting a massage or stretching. It could mean a few different things, and we'll get into that. And recovery is also through things like your nutrition. And that's why I always say nutrition is going to be about 80 to 90% of your results, because it's not just about eating clean. It's going to be understanding, and I spoke about this in one of my previous videos, it's going to be about understanding exactly how to use that nutrition and what to eat to complement what you're doing. A lot of times why people actually don't see the results that they're looking for is, and there's a few different reasons, but I'll take one type of example first, is maybe you're that person that is going all out every single time you work out. Every time you work out, you're all in, heart rate is up there super high, you're sweating, and you feel great after every workout because you work so hard. But you're not actually seeing results from that. Now, some of you may be watching this and you might say, oh, well, Sam, my friend does that all the time and she's in the best shape of her life. Well, she's probably about 3% of the population that actually works for. So when I talk about these types of topics, I'm focusing on about what actually works for 95% of the people. There's always going to be those select few that are going to get results from different things, and they're just enigmas. So don't pay attention to the 5% of people that are getting the results doing this. It's all about what actually works in a full standpoint. So those people are working out super hard and are wondering why, I should say, they're not getting the results. So the reason being is that those high intensive workouts, they're usually somewhere in where I call no man's land as far as their zones. Now, what I mean by that is that no man's land is where you're not maximizing your fat burning and you're not maximizing your carb burning. You're somewhere in the middle where you're just getting your heart rate up super high, but it's not actually doing anything. Of course, if you're coming from a standpoint of not moving at all and you sit on your couch all day, well, yeah, of course you're gonna get results and you're gonna lose weight by now moving, but this is more for the people that are stuck and they don't know why they're stuck because they're working out or they just don't know what to do. So I hope that makes sense to you. Now, going into those zones that I briefly spoke about, you have 5 zones and you actually only work in 4 zones. So zone 1 is going to be your highest recovery zone. Now, recovery can be taken in a few different ways. Recovery can be stretching, myofascial release, it could be massage, it could be nutrition, it could be movement patterns. What recovery can also be is working in your recovery heart rate zone. Now, I know a bunch of you probably don't know what your zones are, and maybe this is the first time that you're actually hearing this, but testing your zones is hard to come by. So I'll give you a few different descriptions so you can kind of understand what type of zone you're in. So the zone 1 that I was talking about before, it could be your obvious recovery type, or it could be working in your recovery heart rate zone. Now that's going to be very different for every different person, but a good way to describe that is it's kind of easy. You feel like you could do it for a pretty long time. So whether it's cardio, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's technique training with kettlebells, you feel like you can really sustain this for quite some time. Then you have zone 2, which is also considered your recovery zone. That's going to be slightly more intense, but it feels pretty much like comfortably uncomfortable. You could still hold a conversation, although it's getting a little tougher, but whether it's cardio, kettlebell training, bodybuilding, it's going to be in that zone where you feel like it's comfortably uncomfortable, but it's getting a little tougher. You can't necessarily do it all day long. Then you have zone 3, or what I'll call moderate intensity. And zone 1 and zone 2 are going to be your low intensity. So then we have moderate intensity, which is a zone 3. Now this can be what I call no man's land. Now, if you're paying attention to your heart rate, it's going to be where you feel like you can do this for maybe a max of 4, maybe 5 minutes. It's going to be pretty intense. It's going to be tougher to hold a conversation. And then you have zone 4. Zone 4 is strictly going to be all out, high intensity, and you could physiologically only keep it up for about 30 seconds to a minute. So when you see these people that are going all out for an hour, chances are they're going to be in no man's land. So they're not actually going to be able to get their heart rate as high as their zone 4 because they physiologically cannot do that actual exercise for more than a minute long. I hope that makes sense. So now the point of this is, and why I break it up this way, is because if you're focusing too much on zone 1, well, you're not burning enough calories. But if you're focusing too much on the higher zone, well, then you're not focusing enough on fat burning. So there needs to be some type of balance between all of this. And you can make this all work depending on whatever type of training you like, whether it's, like I said in the beginning, the kettlebells, so on and so forth. Now, for your zone 1 and zone 2, or your light intensity, that should be about 80% of your training. Now, I know some of you are looking at that and you're like, oh my God, I'm only supposed to do light intensity 80% of the time. Now, light intensity is going to be incorporated into your higher zones, your moderate intensity and your high intensity days, right? Because you physiologically cannot sustain more than 4 to 5 minutes in your zone 3 or moderate intensity, and you can't sustain more than a minute in your zone 4 or high intensity. So it's imperative that you always bring it back to recovery and you recover into those zone 1, zone 2 types for X amount of minutes. Maybe it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes, depending on the type of exercise. I hope that makes sense. So when you're focusing on your actual exercise, and let's say you're doing a workout split that's 3 times a week, because that's working 3 full body parts at a time, that is going to be important where you're incorporating that light intensity about 80% of the time. You're getting your heart rate up super high about 12%. I know that's a really weird percentage. And then about 8% is going to be super high intensity. If you're going high intensity all the time, you're going to notice that you physically can't do more and more each week because you're not recovering. See, exercise is all about recovery. It's not about actually what we're doing in the gym, or I should say the type of workouts that we're doing in the gym. It's about how we're recovering. So if we're not giving our body the recovery that it needs to actually build the muscle tissue, to actually work and maintain the muscle, well then we're not actually going to be efficiently burning fat. And that's the point of these workouts, so that when you are at rest, you're efficiently burning fat. So now, if you heard all this information and this sounds fantastic, that's great. But if you don't understand how to actually put this information into action, well then this information is absolutely pointless. So what I recommend is that you hop on a free call with me where we'll go over your plan of attack, and we could go into your specific goals and what you're looking to do, your body type and all of that good stuff, and we could create a plan that's sustainable for you. Again, if you don't enjoy doing the work, you're never going to keep it up. And if it's too intense for you, well, you're not going to get the results either. So you want to make sure that you understand how you're working out and it's in a way that is effective to you. So again, if this sounds fantastic, click the link below and we'll set up a free call where we could discuss your action plan moving forward. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you on the other side.